Okay, this is another question from Cyrus about another robot part. This one's kind of fun because it has a kind of a sphere shape attached to a rectangular solid. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. We're going to make this chunk first, then this part, and then we're going to make this sphere. And we'll see how well this all works. Oop, not that part. Alright, so first I'm going to look at this side. Start a 2D sketch. And here's a fun fact. If you go to dimension something and switch this to a line, you can dimension between the two like this, the way that you would actually dimension for a part that was, kind of funny like that. I would also recommend dimensioning the distance up. So check the distance from this center to this center, which I guess you probably wouldn't be able to find centers. So let me delete that. Use lines. Make yourself a couple of references. Turn these both into construction lines. And now you can dimension between the two to see how far it is from there to there. Okay, so now that we have how far apart those are, we can put in the bigger circles. Let's use the same center points. I'm going to make these two circles equal to each other, as they appear to be about the same size. I'm going to cut these out and extrude. Alright, let's look at the back side of this and make a new sketch. This one will be a little bit easier. We're just going to make a 2-point rectangle. And it looks like it is going to be tangent to this. Now I don't want it to cut into that. So now let's see what we got. That means it saved all of this for us. Of course, with your calipers, you can dimension and see what the width of this is. And also looking at this other picture that you sent me, it goes partway into this other piece. So here's how we are going to get away with that. I don't know what the back of this looks like. I have no idea what the back of that looks like. Let's assume it's just a straight line. So connect our two lines there. We'll go to extrude. We will make this the same distance as before, but instead of it going just in the one direction, we're going to be symmetric, so it's halfway between the two. Okay. So we have something kind of like this on the back side, and it looks something like that on the front side. Now for the sphere. Alright, so we are going to make a new sketch on this surface, because if I look at this, this backside is lined up with the middle of that sphere. Okay, so I'll make a new sketch here. I'm going to assume it lines up with the middle of this. I'm going to measure the diameter, top to bottom. And then we're going to cut this whole thing in half. We're going to revolve that whole shape around that middle line. Okay, then make a new sketch on this surface. And maybe I didn't want to do it like that. Alright, undo for a second. I'm going to draw a rectangle on top, and draw a rectangle on bottom. I am going to make the two rectangles line up with each other. Draw a line in between them. Make the line in between a construction line. Use my geometric constraint here to find the midpoint of that and the midpoint of this stuff over here. And that means that if I click and drag this, both sides will move at the same time. So if you take your caliper, you measure the distance between the two, you should be able to put in the finished dimension here. And when you go to extrude this, you can tell it to cut both directions. Change your distance to all. Now we just make a new sketch here. Switch to circle. And actually, I apologize. That's flat because of the circle. It doesn't have just a flat part to attach to the body. So let's go back a couple steps here. Let's delete this. Let's delete this extrusion we just made. And instead, we can make a new sketch on this surface here. We're going to project the geometry of the outside of this. Slice our graphics. And you should know the diameter of this. We're going to have that cut, distance, all, both directions from the top view. That will have two flat spots, but again, that is because of the hole, not in addition to. And just like with your other robot part, we're going to add a small fillet to all of your parts over here. And that should make everything look really nice. Change your default to cyan. I think that looks pretty close to what you're looking for.